First of all, thank you very much for next invitation, because this is not the first invitation that I received from Open Ukraine Foundation, and it is not only a pleasure, but it is very fruitful to be with you. I regret that after 22 years of my visits to Ukraine, I understand, but I don't speak Ukrainian. And this is my mistake, a big mistake, because it would be much better to have the direct communication. What I am sure about concerning the current situation in your country, in Ukraine, it is that without real barriers and obstacles, President Putin, with his policy, will go ahead. Will go ahead. President Putin is not a strategist. He is good in tactics. He has ideology supporting him, Putinism, clearly expressed 1 year ago,
so
after the annexation of...
This is predictable.
Yes,
What
yes.
is unpredictable?
The reactions of the West. So President Putin is from Mars, when the West is from Venus. Thank you. I'm in the same situation that my colleague, because the first presentation was very fruitful. Congratulations. And maybe I will concentrate on the consequences of this assessment that you presented, because I share your opinion almost totally, underlying the situation in which we are now in Central and Eastern Europe. That is the completely new political and strategic environment that we observe since the beginning of Russian invasion on Crimea. It means that this model of security that was established after the Cold War was blown up, completely destroyed. It collapsed. We don't have right now any stable model of security. Paradoxically, after introducing into our doctrine in NATO in November 2010, I was one of the participants of this summit of NATO, accepting the cooperative model of security as the third main essential goal of the alliance. So this model doesn't exist and will not exist anymore, at least for a decade or even more. And the question is how it should be replaced. How can we replace this model that was based on the assumption that cooperation is better than the use of military force, that the dialogue is better than the confrontation between entities, between the states. So currently within NATO we have the beginning of the discussion of the future model of security that we would advocate, that we would be in favor. And the recent presentation that was done, one Polish President Komorowski during the Brussels forum about the need of the new strategy is one of the voices in this debate. Maybe it will be necessary to work on the new strategy, on the new security concept. But on the other hand, we know that it is difficult to create such a new model of security in discussions. This is the result of practical achievements and practical experiences. That's first, that we have to work on the new model of security. Secondly, the problem of Minsk II agreement. This is crucial for territorial integrity and for sovereignty of your country, of Ukraine, but it is also important for European leaders that partially were in favor of diplomatic solutions than of rearming Ukraine. So those who approved this diplomatic approach convinced the others that diplomatic solutions can be effective. So the future of the Minsk II agreement is a kind of test for diplomatic effectiveness of the European or Euro-Atlantic community. I have personal doubts if it is possible to achieve the conclusions that were incorporated into this agreement without delivery of weapons to Ukraine. I understand rearming Ukrainian armed forces more in political categories than in military categories, because it is necessary when there is a new equipment to be prepared to use this equipment, and you would need time. But in political terms, it would be a strong message sent to Moscow and to the other parts of the world that Ukraine is not alone and Ukrainians are not doomed to a failure. So from that point of view, it would be a political measure using which the West would maybe begin the process of changes in the dynamics of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The third problem that I would like to underline, this is the problem with unity of Europe. That's absolutely obvious for a politician coming from one of the member states of the European Union, that we should be united. But to be united, it means to decrease the level of our expectations concerning the policy of the European Union as a whole. It means that we have to take into consideration the voices coming from Greece, coming from some other countries, reducing expectations of those that would be in favor of much radical measures taken by the European Union. I belong to this group of politicians that would be in favor of extending the policy of sanctions, using also those sanctions that would be really painful for Kremlin, not only those that are responsible right now for only 0.7% of GDP of the crisis in Russia. I would be in favor of those serious sanctions that would affect, in reality, the banking, financial, defense, and in the economic sector of Russian Federation. They would be much more painful, and they would be much more visible in the pockets of Russian society, supporting in 86, between 85 and 87%, this aggressive policy of the Kremlin. But we are not able to use this set of serious sanctions because of this principle of unity of the European Union that has to take into consideration also those, or mainly those voices that try to weaken the position of the EU as a whole. And the fourth, last remark is about NATO. In Central Europe, we are satisfied with NATO's position and NATO's assurance measures that were introduced since the beginning of Russian invasion, Russian annexation of Crimea. It means that when I compare the reaction of my colleagues from North Atlantic Council when I asked NATO to begin the process of updating our Polish contingency plans in the year 2008, when I take into consideration those efforts that we have taken together with the leaders of the Baltic states to have the first in the history Article 5 steadfast yes exercise in Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. With the current contribution of not only of Americans, but also of Canadians, French soldiers, Belgian units from Netherlands, etc., I see the huge gap between the former and the current readiness of NATO and its members to present the assurance measures to Central Europe. But on the other hand, I'm strongly not satisfied with the offer that NATO gives to you, to the Ukrainians, forgetting that here in Ukraine there is a battlefield that will determine not only the future of your country, but the future of Europe and Euro-Atlantic zone as a whole. So being satisfied with the engagement of NATO in Poland and in other countries of Central Europe, I have to express our dissatisfaction, my dissatisfaction with the level of involvement of NATO here in Ukraine.